Ian Beckles. What's going on, brother? How are you?
Fantastic. Yourself?
Doing well, man. Doing well up here in New York. I'm leaving tonight, and then I'll be back tomorrow, ready for a Bucs camp. Did you go to a Bucs camp on Saturday?
I did go to Bucs practice on Saturday. Yes, I did. I had Legends Day on Saturday.
Nice. I'm glad you could be there with the rest of the legends. How hot was it out there?
It was hot. It wasn't. I mean, you've been outside in Florida. I mean, it's hot. Period. I don't know how these cats are doing it. I mean, if I was making $20 million, I'd probably figure it out. But there wasn't a lot of legends out there, though. I didn't. Usually, there's more than that. I didn't see a lot of legends out there.
What was your biggest takeaway from watching the game? From watching the practice?
Be honest with you, Jay. I was there for an hour, and they didn't even have their pads on. Mm-hmm. It's not a bad. Every time I go to a Bucs practice, the last thing I do is watch practice.
Right.
Like you're talking to people, you're hanging out. You're having drinks, you're staying hydrated. There's no drills you can actually sit and watch. It's just a crowd reaction. It's just more being there. But I don't get anything out of going to Bucs practices. I mean, absolutely nothing.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, buddy. So obviously the big news over the weekend was a guy like Micah Parsons saying that he wants out from Dallas, and our friends at WDA put out a hypothetical trade that's gotten a lot of runway on social media, with the Bucs possibly trading away 2 first-round picks and YaYa Diaby for Micah Parsons. If you were the Bucs, would you make that deal?
2 first-rounders and YaYa Diaby for Micah Parsons. No. And it's not because it wouldn't make us better this year. I think it would. I don't know if Micah Parsons is going to be great for 4 more years. I just don't think his style is conducive to a long career. And he's getting beat up now anyways. If you say to me 2 years from now, do you think Micah Parsons is still going to be great? I don't know if that's the case. And if you give Micah Parsons the bank and he's not there, now you got rid of YaYa Diaby, you got rid of 2 first-round picks. I don't know if he's the right guy. I wouldn't do it for that, no.
Is it more the player or the person that worries you?
A little of both.
Yeah.
A little of both. Like, nothing that he's doing right now bothers me. The fact that him and Jerry Jones don't get along probably is a bonus for me. But it's more about, it's about your history and the way you play. And if I think you're going to be a guy 2 years from now and still going to be playing at the same level, I would be weary and leery about bringing in TJ Watt too. I don't know if he's going to be great 2 years from now. So you don't want to mortgage everything, and then for a kid that's going to come and take all the money and not be there 2 years from now. YaYa Diaby might be here 5 years from now, and you never know what those 2 first rounders would be.
Yeah, I mean, I'm usually with you, Beck. My whole thing is that the only time he missed games was this past season. It was 4 games, right? At 25 years old, right? He's played in every other game. He's had no less than 12 sacks in every year, including last year where he had 12, 13, 13 and a half, 14, and 12. I mean, this is a guy, and I know you're a fan. I know you're a fan of his because he's a guy that jumps off the page, and I feel like he's a difference maker. And it's hard because we do live in a comparative society. It's hard not to think, can Micah Parsons be the Simeon Rice to this group, right? Being that established pass rusher that can come in, because as much as Hassan Reddick is a good player, Micah Parsons is a game changer. He's only 26. Yeah. So in 4 years, he's going to be 30. And we do see, sometimes the pass rushers slow down, but then sometimes the pass rushers, as they get older, I mean, they're more sly, they're more slick, and it's not just the power moves all the time. And I think when you have the guys around him, like obviously YaYa would go in that deal, but Kalijah and Vita in the middle, they would help. You would think that it wouldn't just be him. So I'm not so quick to say no to the deal. Mm-hmm. I'm a lot slower to say no, and probably more leaning towards yes, because I feel like there's only a few guys out there in the game that I would do something like that. Micah Parsons being one of them.
It's not about his play, Jay. It's not, because I love the way Micah Parsons plays. I think Micah Parsons comes into a huddle and makes the whole defense better because of his mentality and his effort. I think everybody would become better around him immediately. It's just about what you're giving away. That's it. If you ask me if I want Micah Parsons, go and give him the world. I don't care if you give him $80 million a year. But when you talk about 2 first rounders and a legitimate, YaYa Diaby is a legitimate football player. That's a little bit too much for me because there are the unknowns. I picked Micah Parsons out of college. I remember watching this.
Yeah.
I go, That kid right there, he's going to be something. I get one knock on him. You know what the knock was? Not sure he's going to stay healthy because he plays too hard. And if that's the only knock on you, go ahead and pick that kid. Because I wasn't wrong. Micah Parsons plays at a different level. But how long? Like Lawrence Taylor played at a crazy level. But he played for like 10 years before he was ever hurt. You know what I mean? So I guess it's hard to compare the different eras. But I think it's still buyer beware with Micah Parsons right now.
Yeah, I look at YaYa Diaby, and I think, he has 12 sacks in 2 years.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the other thing is everybody's like, oh, we don't want to give up YaYa. Like, YaYa's not an elite pass rusher. He's not even a great pass rusher. So I think people get so, you always get enamored with the guys that you have, right? I don't want to give up this guy. I don't want to give up the first. Listen, if you're going to be good the next 2 years and you're going to make a long playoff run, your first round pick's going to be in the mid to late 20s. So it's not like you're going to have a draft pick in the top 15. Like this team's going to be good. So obviously we know that those picks at the end of the first round are a lot less valuable than the top 15. Right. So, I mean, that's why I'm not so opposed to it, because I think draft picks, F those picks, as other teams have said. And if you here's before we move on, let's say I say you make that deal, the Buccaneers win the Super Bowl in the next 2 years. Do you make that deal then?
Sure, of course. I mean, that means that the Micah Parsons balled out and everything else kind of fell in the line. Now, the thing is with YaYa Diaby, if you ask me if there's one player in the Buccaneers squad that is better than statistics, I would say it's YaYa Diaby. Like, if there's one guy that I think played better than what he showed on paper last year, because YaYa, he's close to the quarterback a lot. He doesn't get a lot of sacks. But if the timing changes, you're going to see him getting double-digit sacks because it's the effort thing, okay? Because I always see effort, and I always see him going towards the quarterback. That's what used to drive me nuts with JTS. He was never going towards the quarterback. YaYa's always going towards the quarterback. I love that personally.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see this year. I'm excited to see what happens with the Buccaneers. What did you ever play a team in the preseason that you played in the regular season? Do you remember that or no?
Great question. Maybe the Dolphins for some reason. Came to mind for some reason. We played the Dolphins in the preseason a lot because they were close, but not normally though.
Yeah, because I wonder how things are going to change this year. And I'll ask you this question, being a former NFL player. So usually the way that we know how it's changed over the years, where you play a little in game one, a little more in game two. Game three was like the full dress rehearsal, and then week four really nobody played. Now, since there's 3 games, it seems like nobody plays week one, nobody plays week two, maybe a little bit, and then week 3 is kind of the dress rehearsal, and then you go into the regular season. Well, this year the Buccaneers play the Bills in the 3rd preseason game, and they play them in the regular season. So do you think the Buccaneers should adjust, and what are some of the things that you can learn in preseason that can help you in the regular season, knowing that there's going to be a drastically different playbook, but I'm sure there are some kind of idiosyncrasies you can pick up playing a team in the preseason that can help you in the regular season?
I'll be honest with you, Jay. I don't think it gets that deep in preseason. Like, I don't think they ever call plays and go, let's not show them this or that, because you don't really show much in the preseason. You really don't. They're not going to game plan for the Bills. Like, when you're playing the preseason, you don't even game plan for the other team. Like, when we played the preseason, sometimes we didn't even watch what the other team played. It didn't matter. It was about us.
But do you think that changes now because there's 3 games? Like, I understand that with 4 and the way it used to be. But, I mean, Todd's already said. That's why this is the reason why I'm bringing it up. Not because I came up with this idea, but because it looks like Todd may change the way he did it last year, where Baker didn't play week 1, but he probably is going to play against the Titans because they said that they play Buffalo in the regular season. So I'm not taking this from my own account. I'm taking this from what the Bucs are saying,
Well, listen, once again, I think the media and fans think the preseason is more than it is, to be honest with you, because when you go into the 3rd preseason game, all the coach really wants is to go into the regular season with momentum. So if the first offense goes down the field on the first drive and scores a touchdown and looks great, and it's a 12-play drive and it takes 8 minutes, he might go, everybody sit down. You're done. And if you get stopped the first 3 drives, they may tell people to keep going. That has nothing to do with success you're going to have during the regular season. And I can tell you this, you ain't going to see Baker for more than one series. You're not going to see Mike Evans at all. You're not going to see Chris Godwin at all. You're not going to see Tristan Wirfs at all. You're not going to see You're not going to see Levante David out there. So success in the preseason really doesn't matter. I think it's an understatement. Okay, what you do in practice matters way more than what you do in the preseason in those games, because those games are as vanilla as can be. The quarterback doesn't have to worry about most blitzes. You don't have to worry about zones. You don't have to worry about spy zones and them mixing things up. It's about as vanilla can be. And success in the preseason looks great, but when that regular season comes, it ain't like that.
What about the trenches? Are those positions, like, is it more important for the trenches because it's a one-on-one battle? I know obviously you said you take away a lot of the kind of the scheme, but do you learn more about your skill players or your trench guys in the preseason?
Well, in the trenches, it's going to matter more than what happens in the ultimate result. Okay, say if I'm blocking Reggie White, okay,
right.
and I block him 10 times and I have 5 pass rushes and he beats me on an outside swim 4 times. Okay, now he knows I'm susceptible to an outside swim. Now, when I'm watching the film in the regular season, I see that Reggie White beat me 4 times on an outside swim. Now I got to compensate. Now he's thinking he's going to be ready for my outside swim. Now I'm going to club him inside. So if you did struggle against someone in the preseason, that is going to,
and I think that's where I'm getting at as far as like what you can take from the preseason to the regular season, not as far as quarterback and schematics, but things like that, where like what's the most pass rushing moves a pass rusher can have, right? How many? Yeah.
I mean, you could probably, very few have more than 2.
But that's what I'm saying. So if you're the right guard for the Buccaneers and they realize like, man, this guy struggles with this move over and over and over again, I think you can learn that, right? And take that to the regular season if you're the Bills. So, all right. So you're saying the trench is probably more than the skill position guys because so much goes into the success of those skills position guys, where in the trenches, a lot of it's the one-on-one battles. And that's not taking away any of the stunts or any of the double teams or things like that. But the one-on-one discourse, you could say, would probably be one of the biggest things you take away from preseason.
Sure. Like say me and the tackle are double teaming the defensive tackle. We're driving him off the ball. You're like, okay, that's a good matchup. But you have to understand, if you're an offense and you're watching the Buffalo Bills, who you're going to play this year, and you say to yourself, man, they're weak here. That's something we can exploit in the regular season. You ain't going to do it in the preseason.
Right.
You're not going to do it because you don't want to show everybody that they're weak there. I mean, other people are going to see it, but you don't want to show your hand, okay? Because once again, the success that you have in the preseason means absolutely nothing when the regular season starts. And I mean 0.
How much discussions did you have with the NFLPA? And think about some of these things with, they're talking about a new interim executive director. Like, how much of that did you talk about with your teammates about like the strikes and lockouts and CBAs and things like that? Was that a big topic of conversation when you were playing?
I mean, while I was playing, things were happening. The Reggie White rule came about, free agency came about. There was whispers in the locker room, but it wasn't a bunch of, locker room lawyers in there.
Right.
It's not like we didn't worry about stuff that we didn't have any really, like there's nothing much we can do as players, to be honest with you. And the NFLPA, it sounds like it's something that is about the players, but I think we all know that it's part of the NFL. Okay. Right. And they're not only making decisions for the players, ultimately they're probably making decisions for the 32 billionaire owners. So in a way, we feel like the NFLPA is on our side, but you can't expect them to have you back all the time. That ain't the case.
One of the things that I was mentioning before is that Josh Grizzard, new offensive coordinator with the Bucs, he was with the team last year, as an assistant with Liam Cohen. And I think going into the season, Baker Mayfield has said as much. It's good to have a guy that you've already talked to because, listen, 3 years for Baker Mayfield, 3 different offensive coordinators. Yep. How could a guy that's already been in the room, even though he's a young dude, but he's also had experience in Miami with Mike McDaniel. He knows what that offense looks like. And, we know how quick Tua likes to get rid of the football as well and get his playmakers in space. But how much could that continuity help this year to kind of get this offense really, as best as it can to be able to pick up where it left off last year?
Well, in a perfect world, we would have been better off if we stay with what we had last year. Okay, let's just get that straight. Familiarity is very important. The fact that we have somebody coming with about the same system helps, all right? But we don't know if Grizzard can call plays when the bullets are flying, okay? Right. Because it's easy to call a play. But during a game, okay, all of a sudden it's 2nd and 7. All right? You're like, okay, things are going great. And you're in your head, okay, next play I'm going to run. Then you get up a sack. Now it's 3rd and 20. Mm-hmm. You have to have a play already in your head. And like that's not a natural thing to do. And you see a lot of maybe these first-time play callers in there for the first time, and the moment could be a lot for them. Like we know, Andy Reid is not going to choke in certain situations. It's easy to say somebody's ready for a situation we don't know. It happens with head coaches all the time. Oh, I know this, I know that. Now all of a sudden you're the head coach, and you find out they suck in the last 2 minutes of the game and the halftime and all these decisions, and you almost got to poop on yourself for you to become great. I guarantee Marty Schottenheimer and John Gruden and all those play callers weren't that slick when they first started calling plays. So we got to give this guy kind of a grace period to get acclimated and for it to be smooth. It may not be ultra smooth at the beginning.
Marv Levy turned 100 years old today. I mean, my goodness, right? 100 years old. When I saw that, I was like, my goodness, Ian's right behind him at 86.
Right?
Unbelievable. We always ask about the players that you went up against. What about the schemes? Which defensive coordinator or which team had the most, I want to say, impressive scheme to you over the years that really stood out and go, damn, man, I thought I had an idea what was going on. And the reason why I ask is because when we watched it at your place a couple of weeks ago, where Kirk Cousins was showing so much love to Todd Bowles. And a big reason why he was so successful last year is because he kept a lot of his notes from week 1, 3 years ago when he was a member of the Vikings going, man, Todd does all these crazy things. And, you coincide that with some of the injuries that the Buccaneers had. That's why Kirk was able to do his thing in both those games against Tampa Bay last season. But when you think back to schemes and defensive coordinators and teams as a whole, which team or defensive coordinator really stood out to you amongst the rest?
Minnesota always seemed to have, to me, it's what's happening up front, okay? Minnesota always seemed to have themes. They had John Randall, which made it, which made it hard to sleep the night before. He had a lot, but they had Chris Doman, and this schematically, it just seemed like defensive. And hey, it was Tony Dungy back in the day as well.
Yeah.
So their scheme was great. The Pittsburgh Steelers, even today, and they haven't changed their scheme ever. When you play the Pittsburgh Steelers, you know that somebody's going to come and hit you in the mouth, and they're going to fly the ball, and they're just going to be a little bit more physical than everybody else. And way back in my years, the New Orleans Saints and that 3-4 defense was a son of a bitch. And when they had Sam Mills, who I know was a Hall of Famer, but still may be one of the more underrated players I played against. They had Pat Swilling, and they had Ricky Jackson, and they had some bad boys out there. And they had these big monsters in the middle who nobody knows their names, but if you're an offensive lineman, you're going to know Frank Warren and those guys like that. So the Saints were always a bitch. And believe it or not, the Buffalo Bills back in the day, when they had Ted Washington and they played that 3-4 defense with Bryce Pop and all those kind of players like that back in the day, were a son of a bitch to deal with as well.
Bryce Pop. That's a good name right there.
No
you see nowadays with, you'll see a center about to snap the ball and you'll see the guard give him a smack to let him know when to snap the ball. For people that don't know the ins and outs and the intricacies of the game, what is that guard doing to help the center? And is that something that you ever did over the years to help out your center?
No, I think they invented that, or whoever came up with it was after I was out of the league. All it is the center on a shotgun can look between his legs, right? And he sees a quarterback, but he can't continuously look between his legs. It's just not something you can do naturally. So the guard is looking back, and the quarterback is looking at him and gives him a nod like, I'm ready to go. So the center can't sit there and look between his legs for 20 seconds. It's just you're going to be dizzy, and it's just not a smart thing to do.
Yeah.
So the guard looks back. The quarterback says he's ready to go. The guard taps him, and then it's usually a time cadence from then. It's usually 1,001, 1,000 snap. So, as a guard, I don't want added stuff to do because blocking my guys enough. So I'm glad they didn't have that back in the day. Although, the aforementioned New Orleans, when we played in New Orleans, you could be right next to somebody and they could be yelling and you could not hear anything coming out of their mouth. It could have helped us those years back then because playing in New Orleans by far was the hardest place to play, by far.
Who was the smartest offensive lineman that you played with?
Smartest that I played with? Probably Tony Mayberry.
Yeah? Don't tell him.
Yeah.
We won't tell him.
Oh, I would tell him that. Tony, hey, listen. Tony ain't the most athletic dude in the world now. You should see him run. He runs like Shaggy from Scooby-Doo. And I don't even know what Tony's strengths were.
Scooby Snacks.
But he got the job done. And he played hurt. I used to call him names, but he had to be tough playing, center with a spiral fracture in his thumb and stuff like that. So it's just what we did back in the day, but you got to give him credit now. What
made him so smart? What was like some of his strengths?
Well, I played with some centers that didn't know what the hell they were talking about. Like some centers just know, okay? Now, if you ask Tony Mayberry, who's the smartest guard you ever played next to, if I don't get the vote, I'm smacking him upside his head. Because there's a couple of times where Tony got dinged up, and I remember once in Denver, Tony got dinged up, and he was like, we didn't call him concussions, we call him dinged up. Tony got dinged up, and he was like, yo, bro, you got to keep an eye on me, man. I don't think I know what's going on. And I'm like, you good? And he was clearly concussed, and I was making the calls in the game. And there was not a lot of guards that could have made the calls. A lot of times the guards were the dummies, to be honest with you.
What did you ever get close to sliding and playing another position within the game?
It's amazing. I just talked about, like, I'm coaching Chamberlain, and I told a lot of my linemen I couldn't play. I know I can't play tackle. You just don't put me out there. I won't be able to block anybody. And one year, I was the backup center, and it was because of a bunch of injuries, and I did it in practice a little bit. And I mean, like, if I had to snap it and block somebody, it's just not going to happen. It's the hardest thing I've ever seen. Like, to me, it's just not happening. And I went into the game as the backup center, and our starting center at the time, Bubba Miller, was on the ground. And I go, Bubba, get your ass up. Get up. I said, if I don't see a bone, you need to get up. Because if there was ever tape of me putting my head on the ground in an NFL game and snapping it, after that, it would be hideous. I promise you it would be the worst thing you've ever seen.
Do you think if you would have done it in college that you would have been okay and had a chance to be a center in the pros? Or was that just something the way your body was, built, or way that your physical was, that it just wasn't your thing, that you were just always meant to be a guard?
The irony of this is me and Tony were talking about this yesterday. And I have big hands for a normal person.
Damn, those fingers are all jacked up.
All right, I'm going to be a finger ball. That hurts. Yeah. But my hands aren't really big for it all. Tony's hands are huge, okay? And I think having big hands it definitely helps. Mm-hmm. If I'd have started off as a center way back in the day, maybe. Mm-hmm. But it's not a natural thing to do. And what I'm finding out is, being the coach at Chamberlain, their offensive line and defensive line, it's making me think that there's no more unnatural position in all of sports than an offensive lineman. It's the most unnatural position in all of sports, period. Because you have to find a big kid who's long and mean and has great feet. And I mean, that's also not so athletic that he'd be on the defense. So It's hard for somebody to fall in your lap as a great offensive lineman. It really is hard.
Last question here from Slam It on the Wood 22. Outside of the Bucs, who do you like to make it to the Super Bowl?
To the Super Bowl? Well, if I had to bet my house either way, I don't know why you wouldn't bet Kansas City just because they can make it every year. I mean, people would talk Buffalo, but I'm not doing that because I don't know if the football gods are not stopping that. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Philadelphia, last year before that game, I said, listen, I won't bet against Kansas City, but if there's a team built to beat them, it's Philadelphia. I mean, they're really good in the trenches, brother. I mean, really good. Like, that defensive line is a son of a bitch. I mean, there's two guys inside or a problem. They were showing a couple moves, and I watched one of those two inside guys. I don't remember which one it was, but he made a move. 2.5 guys were moved. Like, I've never seen anybody do this before.
Jalen Carter?
Yeah, it might have been Carter. like he's lined up on the center, and he beat the right guard on the outside of his shoulder. And I was like, Jesus Christ. I mean, these are big, nasty guys in there, and they just seem to have guys who fit their scheme offensively. That offensive line is amazing. Saquon, I mean, I know you're a Giants fan, it hurts, but, I mean, there's Saquon and there's, Henry, and that's it. There ain't nobody else. So if I had to bet offense, from the NFC, I would go Philadelphia again.
Yeah, no doubt. What's going on at the Dignitary Cafe, my man?
Just hustling every day, brother. Trying to make a buck and serving the best cobbler and kratom in town, and just letting everybody know it's 420 friendly. You know what I'm talking about.
There you go. 4817 Southwest Shore Boulevard. Go follow, go check them out. Dignitary Cafe, Kava and Kratom. Real chill atmosphere. Ian_Beckles on all social media platforms. Of course, we'll have the Beckles and Recher podcast on Wednesday from the Dignitary Cafe. The round mound of Kava Town, Ian Beckles on the program. Appreciate you, brother. We'll talk to you later this week.
One love.
All right, buddy.